Imagine being laughed at for who you are, only to silence an entire room with a gift no one knew you had. This is the story of Daniel, a quiet janitor and single father, who walked into a moment of ridicule but walked out with respect, tears, and a chance that changed his and his son's life forever. Daniel had been working as a janitor in a large corporate office for nearly 7 years. He wasn't the type who drew attention. His uniform was always neatly pressed, his mop always at hand, and his smile faint but kind. Few people ever looked beyond the surface. To most employees, he was simply the janitor. Yet behind those tired eyes was a man carrying a story, a widower who lost his wife too soon, and a father raising a young boy, Ethan, who adored him but struggled with loneliness since his mother's passing. Every paycheck went toward bills, rent, and saving whatever little he could for Ethan's future. Daniel didn't complain. He believed dignity was found in honest work. But one thing nobody knew, one thing he had buried deep within was his love for music. Years ago, before his life took unexpected turns, Daniel had been a pianist. He played in small cafes till the copyrights, taught kids in the neighborhood, and dreamed of one day composing music of his own. When his wife fell ill, he sold his beloved piano to pay for her treatment, and after she passed, he never touched the keys again. One Friday evening, the company held its annual gala. Employees dressed in glittering gowns and sharp suits filled the grand hall. Daniel was there too, not as a guest but on duty, quietly sweeping corners and collecting glasses. On stage sat a gleaming grand piano, meant for entertainment later in the evening. During a lull in the event, a group of younger employees spotted Daniel in the corner. They whispered, giggled, and one of them smirked. "Hey, let's see if the janitor can play." It was meant as a joke, a way to get a laugh out of the crowd. They called him over loudly. "Hey Daniel, why don't you play something for us?" The room erupted in chuckles. Daniel froze, his broom still in hand. His instinct was to decline, to quietly back away, but something stirred inside him. He remembered Ethan, who had recently asked, "Dad, did you ever play piano? Mom said you were really good." That memory flickered like a light in his heart. For the first time in years, he felt the urge to touch those keys again. With a deep breath, Daniel set down his broom and walked to the piano. The laughter softened into murmurs as he sat down. His calloused fingers trembled slightly, hovering over the polished keys. Then, he began to play. At first, the notes were gentle, hesitant, like a man testing old wounds. But soon, the music poured out rich, soulful, filled with years of unspoken grief and hidden dreams. He played not just a song, but his life, the pain of losing his wife, the struggles of raising Ethan, and the quiet hope that love and resilience could carry him through. Each note seemed to tell a story, weaving sadness and beauty together in a way words never could. The room grew silent. Conversations stopped. Glances stilled in midair. One by one, eyes turned toward him, not with mockery now, but awe. Some employees blinked back tears. Others closed their eyes to let the melody wash over them. By the time Daniel reached the crescendo, his heart and soul poured into every chord. Even the CEO, a stern man known for rarely showing emotion, sat with glistening eyes. When the final note lingered in the air, the room erupted not in laughter, but in thunderous applause. Daniel stood, embarrassed yet deeply moved. He quickly stepped away from the piano, ready to return to his broom. But the CEO rose from his table and approached him. With a steady voice, he said, "Daniel, a broken bar that was extraordinary. Why have you been hiding this talent?" Daniel simply lowered his eyes and replied, "I had responsibilities. Music doesn't pay bills. My son needs me more than anything." The CEO paused, then placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "Your son needs to see you shine, and the world needs to hear what you have to say through your music." The words struck Daniel's heart. That night changed everything. A few days later, Daniel was offered a unique position, working part-time in his janitor role, but also leading a company music program for employees and their families. It paid better and gave him time to spend with Ethan. Soon, he was performing at community events, inspiring others with his story of resilience. Most importantly, Ethan watched his father not as a janitor everyone overlooked, but as a man who dared to rise above ridicule and share his gift with the world. And here's the part where you join this story. How many of us carry hidden